As a programmer, you spend a sizable portion of your workday writing text. Oh, sure, we call it code, but think about it for a minute. Your code is just specialized text. And you probably write other text documents too. For example, HTML and XML files are common in software projects. So it won't surprise you to learn that Visual Studio has lots of text editors. In this movie, I want to show you some basic settings that you can configure for any text editor. For this demo, I have this project open called Configure Editor. It has 4 files I'm going to use during the demo: fleet.xdata, program.cs, samplestylesheet.css, and sampletextfile.txt. I'll start by opening these bottom 3 files by double-clicking. Each text file gets its own tab in the tab group. One of the features I use occasionally is to split my screen into multiple tab groups. To do that, you right-click on the tab and choose New Horizontal or Vertical Tab Group. I'll do that again for the style sheet. Now you see I have 3 text files all in their separate horizontal row. Now that I have these editors open, I'll show you some settings that are common to all editors. We'll start by looking in Tools, Options, and then moving to this Text Editor section. This is where you make the changes for all your text editors. We're going to look at several nodes here. We're going to look at the General node and the All Languages node. We'll start by looking in the General node. We're first going to look at the selection margin and the indicator margin and the highlight current line. The selection margin is an extra bit of space that's over here between the line numbers and the code. The indicator margin is this gray bar down the left edge of the screen. And finally, we have highlight current line. That's just what it says. It highlights the current selected line. I'll unselect these 2 items and then click OK. See the gray bar is now missing? And I don't know if you noticed it or not, but there's a few less pixels here now between the line numbers and the code. It's a little bit harder to select the line that I'm interested in without that extra space. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a light gray border around this line. That's the line selection. Let's go back and turn on those options. Now keep an eye over here. Did you see it? Next, let's talk about the All Languages sections. At the top of this dialog is the statement completion. The statement completion settings are on by default. I suggest you leave them enabled. The Auto List Members provides useful pop-up lists of available members, properties, and methods as you type in the editor. Parameter information is another useful feature. The complete syntax for the current declaration or procedure is displayed under the insertion point in the editor with all of its available parameters shown on the tooltip. I think you can figure out what line numbers does. You can see I've already got it enabled on all of my items. You can turn it off if you want. I like having it on in my code. I also like having this word wrap setting turned on. What does it do? Let me show you. I'll scroll down here to this line 19. Here you see I have a long comment in this page. I also have a long comment in this CSS file. Again, I need to scroll over to the right to see it all. With word wrap enabled, by clicking here to put a check mark in this box, it wraps the text down to the next line, just what you'd expect it to do. It also works with code lines too. Back to Tools Options. Next, we'll look at the navigation bar. The navigation bar adds extra items to the top of your code window. Let me show you. I'll unselect the navigation bar, and when I return back to my C# file, you'll see that I'm missing those 2 items at the top of that list. Let's turn them back on and see what they do. What these do is allow me to look at the code that's inside this file. Now, it's getting a little bit hard to see, so I'm going to close these 2 files. This shows the different classes. It shows there's an enum down here and a program class in here, and I can move back and forth between them by using this drop-down. And then this shows the different methods and members of the types that are inside here. Again, I can move to main, or I can move to save file. Visual Studio is extensible. You can have many different languages. If you look in the Tools option list, you can see I have editors for many different languages. But let's say that you have a file like this fleet.xdata that's not using a normal extension. I want to have this loaded inside an XML editor. What I can do is go to File Extension and choose the extension, in this case, XData, and then pick my editor of choice, the XML text editor, and then click on Add. Now I'm guaranteed that when I open an XData file inside Visual Studio, it will use the XML editor, like that. One more time, back to Tools Options. Up here at the top in the environment is a section called Fonts and Colors. It's here where you change all the fonts and colors for your text editors, your printer, and all the other sections of Visual Studio. I'll talk about these in the next video in this chapter.